All right, for more on this, we're being joined by Dr. Imtiaz Ahmed. He is the Executive Director for the Center for Alternatives and former Professor of International Relations at the University of Dhaka. Sir, thank you so much for joining us right here on Newspoint. Just to get a better understanding for viewers all over the world, why are the protests really taking place? We have, of course, covered a basic report on it, but if you can give us a better understanding.
Thank you. Well, I think the main purpose is to abolish the quota system related to Mukti Jodha quota particularly, which now extends to the grandchildren. So long it was children, I don't think there was any problem. But the decision was made, I think, around 2011, that the quota system of 30% would extend to the grandchildren. I think that is where much of the resentment and much of the protest.
Dr. Ahmed, protesters are saying that government jobs are the only hope for many young people in Bangladesh. And of course, this quota system is depriving them of opportunities. How valid is this explanation or this argument?
Well, I think to the protesters it's definitely valid because the quota system extends to the grandchildren. You know, the very idea of quota system is if you are disadvantaged, underprivileged, you know, that is understandable. But there hasn't been any issue, as you know, there could be some cases, but to keep it as high as 30%, that is where reforms are required. And the government is pledged bound to do. You know, the government openly said, and there was another executive order saying that it is abolished. The whole thing, you know, got, I think, complex and returned to where it was when High Court decided that was not valid, but the government has appealed to the Supreme Court. So it's now with the court, but I think the protesters have good reasons to come out on the streets and you know, because it extends to the grandchildren.
Dr. Ahmed, do you feel that these protests could lead to a proper change in the public sector employment policies hereafter? Is it of that scale? Do you find or do you expect the government to take some kind of action on it now?
Well, the government is pledge bound. You know, any executive order, you know, go, you know, in after some years they go through certain reforms. The only thing in that case, in this case, reforms, although the government pledged, but no reforms. At least up until now, we haven't seen what kind of reforms they want to do. But I guess it's time for reforms, and it can be solved. I don't think it's a you know, it became a big issue largely because, you know, I think different quarters took advantage of it. But I think it is something which can be solved easily.
Dr. Ahmed, what is the government's stance here? I mean, as you mentioned, different quarters have gotten involved. Of course, the opposition party has also gotten involved. What is the government's stance here? And as you say, it can get resolved. So how do you see it getting resolved? With some kind of a compromise or something else?
No, I think government has to come out with a decision. Well, the government is now saying because there's a court ruling, the government probably has to wait for the court to decide because it can't take something, you know, which is already in the court. That's one problem. But, you know, it's also in the South Asian context, it's also true that different quarters will take advantage of it. And I'm sure government is aware of it.
All right, Dr. Imtiaz Ahmed, thank you so much for joining us. Of course, it's a tense time all across Bangladesh, but we hope peace is resolved at the earliest.